I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the share, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
I'm Dreme, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, everyone. This is Armand. Armand, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Armand Holmes. I'm calling in from Indianapolis, Indiana. I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I went to Lake Forest College with Dreme.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated together in 2015. I was a sociology and anthropology major. Currently, I work as a lawyer for a shoe company in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so we met in college, but we knew of each other, but we didn't actually, in my mind, we didn't become friends until senior year because we had the same senior seminar and our class was tiny and we were the only two black people in class. And
Shout out to Holly's Flyers.
yes, absolutely.
Shout out to, if you're listening to this, Professor Flyers, shout out to you.
Oh man, we were reading full books every week.
Full books.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I was not the best student. I'm never gonna, I don't even care. I was not the best student, at any point in my life. But I did not do enough readings in that class. But the discussion was always interesting. I will always say that. She wanted us to read. That is one thing that I took away from Holly Swires. Is you're gonna read some stuff with her.
Yes. We were reading, we were doing work, and then after class, me and you would always either walk to the caf or walk to the library together. And then
Yep.
I felt like we just started, developing a friendship. When you majored in sociology, anthropology, did you think that law was going to be the path you went down?
It's funny. No. A little bit of my backstory. Growing up in Cleveland, my mom's works in the education field. My dad he's a counselor, but most of my life he worked in social services, people services, whether it's through Head Start or various other government entities in Cleveland. So I've always been interested in people. And then I took a sociology class when I was in high school and I really liked it. So that's kind of how I ended up majoring in sociology. So I thought I wanted to be a dean, but then I quickly realized that I don't have the patience for kids. So maybe I have the patience for my own kids, but somebody else's, I don't know about that. But when I graduated from Lake Forest, I didn't think I was going back to school. I thought I was done. I was like, you know what, I'm going to work. I don't ever see myself going back to school. It was a grind, just graduating, to be honest. My senior year, my best friend passed beginning of second semester. For, I'd probably say 3 months or so. I kind of just checked out mentally and emotionally. And through the help of Professor Swires, they helped me get it together to get out of there. And I appreciate that from them because I shouldn't have. I was not doing what I needed to do, but they looked out for me. Long story short, no, I never thought I was going to go to law school. That didn't come until 2 years out of college when I was working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car in Chicago, working in the airport at all crazy hours, thinking to myself, why am I doing this? This is not what I'm interested in. But, I needed a job. I had to earn some money. Couldn't go home, really. I still have to work, and I needed to get the experience. And so I got good experience at Enterprise in terms of customer service. But I've always been interested in sports. My dream since I was a kid was to be a sports agent. And so I went to a sports business conference at the University of Michigan, probably 2017. Did a day of programming, and I noticed that everybody was a lawyer. And so I started thinking to myself, okay, maybe I'll go to law school, right? And then we had talked about our friend Matt, and his dad's a lawyer. And so I kind of started picking his brain about going to law school, talked to some of my friends from back home and a few people from Lake Forest that were in law school about, what it's like and things like that. And I just kind of got at it. I took an LSAT class. I took the LSAT about 3 different times. Didn't necessarily do well at it for a number of different reasons. Work, just personal life things. I remember I was working in Uptown at the Enterprise location there, and one of our customers was from Indianapolis, and she was a lawyer for the state. So she rented cars from me all the time. I had no idea she was a lawyer, but one day she saw I was studying for the LSAT, and she was like, hey, if you're interested in going to law school, you should look at my law school in Indianapolis. I am not going to Indiana. That's what I said internally, right? I was like, I don't know nothing about Indiana except for, fireworks, you drive straight through it in the Ku Klux Klan. But, when it push came to shove to applying to schools, the end goal was to go to law school. That was it. I didn't care where. I applied to probably 10 to 12 schools.
Wow.
I got about 4 of them. And when it came down to dollars and cents, and I was going to be broke, I didn't have a job my first year. I got to just focus on school. So I chose Indiana. It was either Indiana or Cleveland, where my family was from. And I thought to myself, if I'm in Cleveland, I'm just going to be caught up with family stuff. So let me just try this out in Indiana, and it worked out for me. That's my long way of how I ended up in law. It wasn't something that I ever thought that I had planned to do. My mom's friends had always said I was either going to be a politician or a lawyer since I was a kid, but I never thought that was going to happen. Life has a funny way of doing things. I do not ever foresee myself in politics. If that happens, pull me out. But that's a different conversation.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hairboards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you.
No stress, no strife. In the chair, the chair, the chair. All right.
When you talked about your love of sports, I remember when we figured out we were both private school kids.
Yep.
And that you were like, yeah, I played hockey. And I was like, you are the only black person that I know that plays hockey. And then you were like, yeah, I'm also playing golf casually. And I was like, this guy is always playing some type of sport. Hey, I'm interested in sports and then law. I was like, oh, okay, he's going to be some type of sports lawyer. Did you dig into sports law?
It's kind of funny. So, my first year in law school, we had a sports agents panel come in, and I kind of started thinking to myself, I was like, okay, this is awesome. These are the people that I want to be. These people I want to emulate, right? And then once you start hearing about what it's actually like, you're kind of like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So I kind of pivoted off of that. That's an issue that I have to stretch. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. Is I've looked for those opportunities in law school, but probably not as hard as I could have. If I'm being honest, I didn't necessarily seek them out as they could have. But then it just kind of became a game of, all right, I need to make money and I need to get experience. So I just tried different things out. Like I spent the next 2 years in law school just working a job at a firm here in Indianapolis, part-time, that gave me some experience and put some money in my pocket, live and whatnot. But then I would just do externships. I worked for a judge. I was able to do some stuff in the community with one of the professors here where we got to not practice law, but we got to help the community with resumes and getting their driver's licenses back because they were suspended due to tickets and other violations, people's child support, just stuff like that, just trying to make a difference in the community. I kind of just tried different things out just to kind of see what hit and meet as many people as I could meet and just kind of see where life took me.
So what stuck when you think about your time at law school? What externship or what experience was like, I'm happy here?
So I was a part of BALSA, the Black Law Students Association. And shout out to BALSA here in Indianapolis, but also, nationwide. I would say that community of Black and brown folks was what has really stuck with me. The people that I met, the support that they provided me, these are still some of my best friends that I have made, still keep in contact with here in Indianapolis. That's one of the things that stuck with me. But in terms of work experience, I kind of just tried things to figure out what I like. And so just with everything, it's like, I'll try this out for a bit, see if I like it, see if it's something I'm interested in. If it's not something I'm interested in, I'm moving on. Some people know exactly what they want to do and they love it. Other people have to try things out to figure out what exactly it is that they like. For me, I fall in that category. I just like to learn. One of the things about law school that I enjoyed was just learning, just going to class, taking random different classes that may have no emphasis whatsoever on whatever I do in my life, right? Like now I'm doing contracts. Outside of my first year, I don't think I took any contract classes. But I like doing contracts now, but I wouldn't have known that unless I have the current experience that I have now at my current job.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird stuff like that.
That absolutely makes sense. I think a lot about in college, like people like, oh, did you know that you were always going to be an educator? No, my goal was to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. That is what I came into college to do, but I couldn't get into bio class because I signed up for classes late. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's try some other things. And I was learning all of these other classes. And then I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a probation officer. And then I had my internship at the juvenile justice probation office in Chicago, and I was like, definitely don't want to do that. Oh, maybe I want to do criminal law. And then I was like hanging up on different floors. Nope, don't want to do this either. Then we worked together at Waukegan, the college, right? Thinking about nonprofit work, working with immigrants and thinking about that. And I was like, okay, well, nonprofit's cool, but I don't think I want to do this right out of college. So then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. So then it just kept going until I was falling into these different passions. If you're interested in it, just keep pulling on the string until this is interesting enough to keep my attention. So I'm like, okay. And then the murder of Mike Brown happened, and I just moved back from Tanzania from studying abroad, and I knew I was going to double major just because I love studying about culture. And then talking to my white friends on campus became difficult, and my black friends were all frustrated and sad. And then shout out to Swires, and she said, hey, how about you put this into work? You tell me I can put my thoughts and feelings into a research project to talk about race on campus. And she was like, yep. And that ended up a new avenue for me. It ended up turning into these different conversations when it came to race, and that led into, well, why aren't we talking about this stuff in schools? And then that led to me applying to UCLA, and that led to me deciding I'm going to start a career in education. But my freshman year, we had our freshman class, and mine was education and equality for all. Absolute education class. That was the random one I was put in. And Professor Donat Perkins, she was like, "You're great at this. Do you want to be a teacher?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, don't major in education." 4 years later, I'm at her office being like, "Hey, I'm going to apply to this education master's program. I would really love your support." And she was like, happy you came around. I'm glad you took my advice, because I ended up learning in all of these other departments, in philosophy and English and history, and being able to dig into these other worlds, but still ended up in education, but had a different mindset about it.
Well, that's the important piece, right? I think is you had a circular path, but you ended up at the place in space that you were meant to be. But it was the other experiences, whether it was through classes or through internships, that helped guide you to the education field and what you're in now. So I mean, like I'm with that, because I mean, told you my story. I had a very roundabout way to law that I never would have thought I was going to be here when we graduated almost 10 years ago. Sometimes these things just end up and you're just like, all right, well, I'm here and this is the decision I'm making. So, I think let's just keep pulling on strings and see where it goes.
If you met somebody who is coming out of college who happens to have a similar path just like you, what would you tell them to do? They just graduated, but they're unsure. And they're like, I just need to work, but I know that I'm not just supposed to just work. What would you say to them?
It's funny. I had lunch with so I'm a part of 100 Black Men, the national organization. So we work with them on the Indianapolis level. And we met with a student last week on Thursday, and he just graduated from one of the local colleges down here. And he was talking about, I feel like I should get a corporate job. So I asked him what his dream job, because that's how I like to start things off with talking to people. What's your dream job? And he said that he wanted to be a counselor and own his own practice. He says one day he wants to go to grad school within the next year, but he was like, but I want to work at your company because I want to get corporate experience, and I just think that makes sense. And so I told him corporate America is great for a handful of things, but don't add an extra year, 2, 3, making money that's going to get in the way of you figuring out your end game. If your end game is to, own your own counseling or psychology practice, just go do that. If you know that's what you want to do, don't waste your time in corporate America, because it's a trap. Adulting is a trap. Once you move out and once you graduate from college, your life becomes, okay, how do I keep a roof over my head? How do I keep food on the table? And how do I take care of myself and give myself the basic necessities? And it's hard to go from making money to not making money and to achieve your dreams. And so for him, that was a different situation. But for others, it's just try things. Obviously, once you graduate, just try and get a job. The job market is tough, but just try it. Try something. Try anything. Anything that can, help you, give you the necessities that you need, roof over your head, food, do the things that you love, whether it's going out, playing sports, traveling, whatever. And then do that for a year, 2. If it doesn't work, go do something else. But it's also thinking about what skills you developed at that job, and then how do they translate to the next job. If you're working a sales job, you can take some of those skills, whether it's, interpersonal skills. Every job, in a sense, is a sales job, because you have to sell yourself and sell your company. And sell yourself or whatever your product is, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just moving on to the next thing until you kind of figure out what it is that you're interested in, or you kind of sit back and just take time to yourself to think about, what am I actually passionate about? What am I actually interested in? Outside of the vices of things that people are interested in, just think about what makes me excited. Is it dogs? Is it cars? Is it people? Is it children? What is it that makes you happy? And I don't think we ask ourselves enough of that question of, what would make me happy and what would bring me joy? Because, and I think we're starting to get to that point. I think the younger generation is starting to get there and thinking of, you know what, I don't want to just work to work. but I want to work to enjoy my life. And I think probably our parents worked just to work because, the parents before them worked just to work. So it's just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just trying to find joy in what you want to do. But some of that is just through trial and error. Some people, it's quicker than others. Others, it takes the long, drawn out process.
I think that's great advice.
The chair.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
The chair.
As you know, I'm building a platform to support Black and brown people on their hair journey. Since I've known you, you've always had a shortcut or a fade. Do you have a memory of falling in love with your hair?
Yeah, so it wasn't until after college. Like, I think that I didn't necessarily take my hair journey serious until I got out of college. Partly because didn't have no money to get a haircut. And there are no Black barbers in Forest. And and so I would go to Highwood to get a haircut, but there weren't necessarily Black barbers in Highwood, so I just made do with what I could do. But I was living in Chicago in the city out of college. I was able to find a barber out in the Evanston, Howard area. Shout out to my guy, Tommy. And I started getting haircuts from him. It was kind of there where I started my hair journey. So my whole thing is waves, right? That's been my whole thing. I've got probably a pretty decent 360 going on right now that I've had since probably 2017. And I just remember starting that out with putting in the most amount of pomade, working at Enterprise. I was going in and out all the time, especially during the winter. So I could just wear a do-rag, 22 hours a day, take it off, brush, and then put it back on and put on my winter hat, and nobody would ever know, especially my customers. It just kind of worked from there. And I started law school, and it was just, you just see so many different hairstyles, right? A lot of the Black students, when they first started, everyone kind of had fades going, tapers. Some were bald, but as we kind of got older, the idea of braids and dreads it became more acceptable. I have always wanted to get dreads. I missed out on my opportunity during the pandemic. I still think about extensions to get dreads, but I don't like growing out my hair. So that's also my own thing is I only let my hair get to a certain length before I start twisting it and kind of getting a little irritated with it because it's long. So if I get on edge, I start playing with my hair, start twisting it. So I've always just kept it short because of that. So that's kind of my hair journey. And then I just kind of keep them now. I tell my barber all the time, I want to get rid of my waves. He tells me no. So, he's bald. Shout out to Adrian. She's like, why would you get rid of these? You know what I would do with these? And I was like, yes, I know. But come on. Sometimes your hair journey, you get bored. You know what I mean? But I'm also at the point where I'm like, I'm bored, but I also don't know if I want to make the commitment the other way. So I just kind of stay where I'm at because the moment it works. Maybe in my midlife crisis, I'll decide to get dreads. But, but I really did miss the opportunity during COVID. That was my time to do it. And, you were inside and no one cared and different time and we are no longer there.
You definitely still got time. I think you still got time, but it definitely takes some commitment. So when you're ready to commit, you'll be like, okay, I just need to do all this research, set yourself up for success, and then you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, but I'll be 80 by the time that happens. I'll be like, all right, 80. All right, let's do it. You know what I mean? I think about my grandpa. So this is a side note. My mom's dad lives with my parents, and he's lived with them probably for probably 20-something years. It's 20 plus years. And I remember he was probably in his 60s. And he had a little afro going. I remember he decided to get braids one time. And I was like, oh, man, they look so horrible. But he thought he was the flyest man on the street. He had some woman from the church braid his hair. And he'd come into my school, pick me and my brother up from elementary school, hit on my brother's first grade teacher, But I was like, these braids are so bad. But I don't know why they made me think of that. But that'll be me. I'll just have dreads, though. So,
Yo, that is absolutely hilarious. Oh, there goes Armand. He's trying it out. He's trying something new.
I'm gonna try something new. You know, sometimes they say old dogs don't learn new tricks, but you know, I'm gonna try and learn it at some point. You know, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but hopefully sometime I'll be able to live out my dream.
I'm excited to see that.
Hopefully I don't go bald before then.
Armand, thank you so much for sitting in the chair and sharing your stories. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for, having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. It was good to be able to share my story and, some of my experiences. Thank you again.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that 1 star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a person to record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your...
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story. Where we share